Vi skal høre om DriveWorks. The next part will be done in English. Will and his team are from Manchester, and we did all night yesterday learning in Danish. So far he can order a Christmas brew and maybe get a next one. So, but will take it from here. PLM Group and DriveWorks has working together with getting DriveWorks into the Danish market. And take it from here, Will.
Cool. Yeah, so thank you everyone, thank you Martin, thank you everyone from PLM for inviting us here. It's a pleasure to get out of the UK, so it's very nice to be here, and hopefully we can share some information about DriveWorks with you as well. So today I'm going to be showing you a product called Drivebooks Express, and as you'll learn, it's a product that you already have access to. My name is Will, and today I'm joined by Ollie, and also Bridie, who's stood at the back of the room there, and we're going to be around for the whole of this event, so if you've got any questions about DriveWorks or what I speak about today, please feel free to come and speak to us. And as well, I apologise that we're doing all of this in English. The banners outside are in Danish, but we know no Danish, so I'm sorry about that. So, as Martin said, we've got a long partnership with the PLM Group. They are the most qualified technical team in the whole of Scandinavia for DriveWorks, and they have many, many certifications, including Martin himself. He's qualified in DriveWorks. But what actually is DriveWorks? Because I know that many people here have probably maybe used DriveWorks maybe once or twice. They may have never even heard of DriveWorks. So we're going to go right from the beginning and just talk about exactly what it's all about. So it's all about configuration and automation. So the configuration side of things is all about allowing people to customize your products. So maybe the same core product exists, but maybe dimensions and features vary between the different configurations. But then on the side of that, once someone has customized a design, it's the responsibility of a design engineer or an engineer in SOLIDWORKS to go in, make those relevant changes, change those features, change those dimensions, maybe suppress and unsuppress components, and that can take a lot of time. I'm sure many people in this room have gone through that exact process, maybe they go through it on a weekly basis. So how many of you have access to DriveWorks, which is a product that can help you with this entire process by automating it? So actually, it's a bit of a trick question. 100% of the people here have access to a DriveWorks product, and that is Drivebooks Express. So this is built into SOLIDWORKS, so when you install SOLIDWORKS, you will already have it on your machine, you just need to activate it, and that's a completely free process. So you could really be using this today to sort of enhance your processes if you need it. But we also have a couple of other products as well. So we have a product called DriveWorks Solo, which really takes design automation to the next level, gives you more control over your drawings, but it also allows you to produce things like a bill of materials and also quotation documents if you need that sort of thing. And then finally, we've got DriveBooks Pro, which is our top-end product, which allows you to do all kinds of crazy stuff, including embedding a configurator inside a web browser so that people don't even need SOLIDWORKS to configure a design, but get a SOLIDWORKS output in the background. So we're going to be focusing on DriveWorks Express today, and with any project in DriveWorks, there's always a 4-step process that you need to go through. So this is going from a completely unautomated model to a fully automated model. This is the process you follow, and we're going to be going through this in a live demo that Ollie's going to be going through on this big screen shortly. So the first step is to capture. And capture is all about telling DriveWorks exactly what you want to control. So what dimensions, what features, what components and subassemblies do you need to be able to control automatically? So this is where you tell DriveWorks all about that, and you do that inside SOLIDWORKS. The next step is to build a user interface. So with a user interface, it's all about creating a way of people inputting a new specification. So telling them, for example, how wide you want the design to be, or what features you want to be included in the design. Creating a user interface involves creating drop-downs, text boxes, checkboxes, allowing you to specify this new design. The next step is to build rules. So this is where DriveWorks is really powerful, because this is where you're going to be offloading a lot of the knowledge that you have inside your head about the design and the logic behind that design into a system where it can use rules, logic, and maths to automate the design process of these repetitive tasks. And then finally, run, which is basically just using the configurator. So this is where people are actually going to be specifying new designs and getting new SOLIDWORKS output from it. So in this example today, Ollie's going to be showing us on this big screen how we're going to automate this desk. And I want to say, if you don't create desks or furniture, don't switch off at this point. DriveWorks is not a tool for automating desks and furniture. This is just an example. So DriveWorks can automate any product, and if you try and apply some of the things that we talk about today and show you, you might be able to see a lot of benefit from DriveWorks in your own products. So in this particular design, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be modifying the width, the depth, and also whether it has these whole features at the back of the design as well. So people are going to be able to control all of those parameters and create a new design. So the first thing we're going to do is Ollie is going to have our model open, and he's going to activate the DriveBooks Express wizard. And the DriveBooks Express wizard, as I say, this is the tool that's already built into SOLIDWORKS. And the first thing you have to do is something called creating a database. And don't worry about this, if you don't know anything about databases, it's got nothing to do with that. Quite literally, all you need to do is specify a file location and also a file name, and then DriveWorks will handle the rest. You never have to think about this again. Next, we have to tell DriveWorks exactly what model we're going to be automating, and Ollie just pressed a button that said use the open model. So since we already had this model open in SOLIDWORKS, this is the model we want to automate. Let's get started. So the first thing we need to do, if you think about our four-step process, is capture. And when we're capturing, we first need to tell DriveWorks exactly what components we need to be able to control. So here we're going to be capturing a few of these different components. One that we're not going to be capturing is the desk leg, and that's because we're not modifying the height of this desk or modifying this desk leg in any way, shape or form. So we don't need to capture it. We can effectively use it as a library, apart from a library which can be used across multiple designs. But everything else we're going to be capturing, and once we've captured those things, we can then open those individual components that we've just captured and capture the things inside that component that we need to control. So in this particular example, this is the top of the desk. We need to control the width, the depth, and also the cable holes. And all you have to do is simply select the dimension or feature inside SOLIDWORKS, give it a relevant name that you can reference later on, and that's it, you've captured it. So you can see Ollie's captured 2 dimensions now, and the last thing to do is capture the feature, which we can see we've just done. And now he's just going to go through the remainder of those components and capture all the dimensions we need to control inside of there as well. So just whilst he's doing that, I want to point out one thing. So I've been talking a lot about configurations today, but when I'm talking about configurations, I'm not talking about SOLIDWORKS configurations. What we actually do with DriveWorks is, instead of creating more and more configurations inside the same part, which, as you can imagine, if you end up with thousands of configurations and custom designs, can be quite a heavy part to work with. So what we instead do is we take a copy of what we call a master, which is basically the original part and assembly, and then we modify that master, opening it, changing the dimensions and features. That's what DriveWorks does automatically in the background. So now that Ollie's captured all of those dimensions, the next thing we need to do is capture some custom properties. So maybe these custom properties are used in a drawing border or something like that, and DriveWorks can control these for you. So Ollie's captured the custom property. He's now going to capture a drawing as well, because we want to create a new drawing every time a new version of this design is created. So once we've done that, next thing to do, now that we've completed step 1, which is capture, we need to build the user interface. So we go to this tab called Forms, and we can start adding our controls. So here, Ollie is going to be adding a text box, but we're going to be adding lots of different types of controls later on. And this one is going to be for the order name. Now, if he goes into test mode, you can see actually what that now looks like. We've got a text box that we can type values into. So this is where people are going to be able to say what the name of this order actually is. So next, Ollie's going to go and he's going to add a width control. So it's going to control the width of our desk. And this time it's going to be a numeric text box instead. And numeric text box, as the name suggests, means you can only enter numeric values, but we can also add a maximum and minimum value to this so that people can't specify unmanufacturable products, so they can't make a desk that's a mile wide. You know, we can make it within a certain boundary. So we're going to keep adding some of these form controls. So the next one we're going to add is going to be a checkbox. So this checkbox is going to control whether we have cable holes or not in our design. So you turn it on, you do have cable holes, turn it off, you don't have cable holes. And then finally, we're going to be adding a drop-down box. So Ollie's already added one of these, but a drop-down box is really useful if you want people to select from a predefined list of options. So we're using it here so we can select who's generated this design, but we also used one for controlling the depth of this design as well. So Ollie's going to be adding some default values in here now. So with DriveWorks, what you can do is set some default values. So the first time someone opens the configurator, these are the values they're presented with, but they can then modify those values to suit their new version that they want to create. So we've set some values, we've hit set defaults in the bottom, and now that is step 2 complete. So we've built a user interface. The last thing we need to do before using the configurator is build some rules. So we go to the Rules tab, and the first type of rule we're going to build is a file name rule. So a file name rule is really cool because, as I mentioned earlier, every time we run a DriveWorks configurator, we're creating a new set of files. But one thing we can do with that is we can also then modify the file name of the newly generated parts and assemblies. So that's what we're doing here. Ollie's opened up the DriveWorks rules builder, which is where you build all your rules and logic. And all we're simply doing is linking the new file names to the order name text box, which is on our form. So whatever someone types in that text box, that will become part of the new file name of the newly generated files. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build a rule for our custom property. So if you remember, we captured a generated by custom property. And all we're going to do again here is just link it to one of our form controls. So the generated by drop-down box, whatever someone selects in that, that will be inputted into that custom property. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to build rules for the dimensions. So this is where we're actually going to control aspects of the design that we can see physically change. And Ollie's going to open up the rules builder, and the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to link another value directly to that width numeric text box. So DriveWorks will take that value and will literally change the dimension automatically in the background. Other things you can do in here as well is you can do simple maths inside of the rules builder as well. So what you'll notice here is, although we have only got one width numeric text box, we might have parts that need a variation of that width. You know, maybe they need to account for some spacing or some gaps in the design, or maybe they just need to be slightly shorter by a certain amount than the overall width. So we can do some simple maths by linking it to that value and then going minus and then minusing whatever value you want. But we've got a number of mathematical operators that you can use. And then the last rule that we're going to build is going to be controlling the feature that we captured, so that hole that we want to be able to control. And for this, we're going to be using some logic. So as you can see, when Ollie goes into that drop down, you can see we've got lots of different types of logic, like Boolean operators, but we've also got an if statement as well. And an if statement basically allows us to make a decision, or allows DriveWorks to make a decision for us. And the first thing we need to do is say what the condition is. And the condition in our case is, if the checkbox on the form is checked, then what are we going to do? So if the checkbox is checked or true, then the next parameter after that, we're going to say, if it is checked, we're going to make sure that that feature is unsuppressed. Otherwise, which is the last part, what are we going to do? If it's not checked, we want to delete that feature. You could also suppress that feature inside the part as well if you want to. And once we've done that, that's all of our rules built. And now we can actually go to step 4, which is actually using the configurator. We've done all the hard work now. Now we're going to reap the benefits of all of that work that we've just put in and save lots of time. So Ollie's just going to run through a few different variations here on the left-hand side. I'm going to probably continue on with the presentation, but he's just going to keep running some of these designs, and you'll see DriveWorks doing all of the hard work for us. It's going to be creating these new variations, and opening up all the parts, changing the dimensions, changing the features, custom properties, whatever we captured and controlled, it's going to do that automatically. On the right hand side as well, you can see there's lots of operations that are appearing in the task pane. So this is a list of things that DriveWorks is doing. So if you ever want to know or understand what DriveWorks is doing, you can have a look in these list of operations and also get a bit of feedback. If you ever have any problems whilst generating, you'll get a big red cross that lets you know that you've done something wrong, and you can go and check out what it is. So as you can see with this, there's a lot of things that we could do. Obviously here we've only changed a few different things. We've just changed a couple of dimensions, some features, but you could add other things. So for example, if you wanted to control the material or the color or more dimensions and more features, then there's no real limit in DriveWorks to what you can control. So what do you do next if you're interested in DriveWorks, if this seems like something that you would find beneficial? Well, the first thing to do is to activate Drivebooks Express. As I said before, it's a free product, you can activate it for free, and we've got lots of information online about how to do this, but also on our booth out there, we've got some beer coasters, gives you an excuse to get some freebies, and also come and speak to us, and the beer coasters tell you how to activate Drivebooks Express as well. After that, next thing you want to do is probably create an account in our community, which is called My DriveWorks. And this is where you'll get access to lots of learning resources that you can take yourself in your own time. You don't need an instructor to go through some of these resources with you. And one of the courses that was in there is a Drivebooks Express course, and you can access that completely for free inside of our learning portal. Then finally, you can also take a Drivebooks Express certification. So this is, again, a certification you can take for free. It takes around 3 hours or so, and once you've completed it, you'll be fully qualified in Drivebooks Express. And if you've got time today, please come over and speak to us. If you've got questions about how to automate your own models, or you want to know how DriveWorks can benefit you, then please come over and speak to us. As I say, we can only speak English, but we'll try our best to communicate. And yeah, thank you for having us, everyone. And I think I'm passing back to either Martin or Anna now. I'm not sure. Martin, thank you.
One thing you also should be aware of is that if you start up with a project in Express, you find the benefits, and suddenly it's not. You need some that is in Solo, for example. You can upgrade your project. You don't have to start from square one, and you can later on upgrade it to professional. So they are always upgradable, the different project you have developed. So every time you investigate or invent into creating a configuration will work, even if you have to upgrade on a later stage. Og med det, så skal vi over til at snakke om assembly performance, og det er Anne, der tager det.